Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to part one of this multi-part series on SAM Fun. So sales and marketing, we've always addressed that as SAM. So if we're going out on a sales marketing visit to a studio, it was always one of our SAM visits. So we're going to take the sales and marketing fundamentals. We're going to turn that into SAM Fun. So we're going to have some fun understanding what the sales and marketing process is all about. Hope you're ready. Just to make sure that we're all on the same level playing field, we're going to start today with the sales process. And then we're going to take a quick look at marketing and what are the differences, what are the similarities, how do they relate together. So right now, we're going to dive into understanding the sales process. And then we'll talk about what's coming up in future fundamental segments. So what is sales? Sales is a very different thing to different people. It can mean great things. It can mean yucky, bad, get away from me kind of things. There's a big variance when we talk to individuals and ask them their opinion of sales. A lot of it has to do with your history with people in the process. But at its basic level, it is the exchange of a commodity for money or for something of value. It's the action of selling something. So, sales means that you've exchanged one thing for something else that is of value. So the barter system, it's still a function of sales, but where you're trading for a product instead of cash. But that process overall is you're taking something and you're trading it for some type of currency. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so why is it though that most people, or many people, think of sales like this guy? You gotta come right now, we got this special on all the cars. Or sign right here, I'm gonna take your house and your firstborn child. Getting that phone call, hey, I wanna buy your house. I actually got one of those cards in the mail today, right? And most people's reaction is get away. No, I don't want to have anything to do with that. That's just, ugh, I want to go take a shower after talking to you guys because you just make me feel yucky, right? And for a lot of people, that's their perception of sales. So I guess there is still this guy. It's the guy that just wanders up on the phone and wants to harass you, and they're kind of mad and mean about it. Well, this translates when we talk to photographers, we hear this manifesting itself in them of, oh, I don't like to sell. I can't sell. I won't sell. I just want to take pictures. I can't go do that. Because they're envisioning in their mind that process. So the reality is that that's not really what should be out there. I mean, there was a time that it was a little different, but right now, if you look around you in your office, in your home, in your car, wherever you're listening to this, everything around you, except maybe if it was handmade by your child or by a friend and they found it in the woods and they put it together and they gave it to you, that might be an exception. But everything else around you went through a sales process. In the office, obviously the big 4-in-1 laser printer, it went through a process of the manufacturer. Then they went and talked to the buyers of Office Depot and Office Max and sold them on which units to buy, which models to buy, the lights, the cameras, the books behind me. There are hundreds of yearbooks in my office, and someone went through that process, not just the consumer at the back end to buy the ones that I have, but some school photographer 60, 80, 100 years ago talked that school into making the decision to choose them. And so then they went through the process. There are ads in there. The paint on the wall was a color that someone said, hey, let's put this color in Home Depot or Lowe's or Sherwin-Williams or wherever it is. So everything you look around at has gone through a sales process. It is an incredibly natural thing in our society to improve, to make things better, and to get beyond the living on sticks and finding food and that kind of thing. I mean, there once was a time where that was the case. You know, you found your own food, you maybe killed your own animals and took their skins, and it was completely dependent upon each small group, each tribe or clan or family group, and you know, it was all on you. But that's not the case anymore. And so sales is a perfectly natural necessity in our society. If I were to talk to you face to face and ask you way down deep in your gut, how do you feel about sales? Your answer will determine a lot about your ability to go out and make, quote, air quotes, sales calls in your photography business. So we need to understand kind of how you feel about the process, and then we can work on ways to work through that. And I think one of the most basic ways to get over our aversion to sales is to have a paradigm shift. It's a change in the way that you think about things. Probably the best example of a paradigm shift was a story that one of my mentors shared, that a gentleman was sitting on the subway on his way home, and a guy got on, had 4 unruly kids. He sat down and he just kind of put his head down and didn't really look up, didn't make eye contact with anybody else on the subway car. The kids were just nuts. They were all over the place. They were full of energy, and they were fighting with each other. They were crawling underneath things. They were poking people. They were doing all kinds of disruptive type activities. And the father was doing nothing to control them. And you can just feel the angst in the car. It's like, oh my God, make them shut up and sit down and be quiet, right? And so another passenger on the car, looked over and said, hey, do something about your kids, will you? And other people were like, yeah. And so the dad looked up and kind of shook back to reality. He said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize it. You know, we just came from the hospital. Their mom just died from cancer, and I don't know how I'm going to tell them. And I'm so sorry. I wasn't even paying attention to what they're doing. And suddenly, the entire car goes silent, and people's paradigms shift 180 degrees. Instead of being mad and angry at the children and the dad for ignoring it, now they're thinking, how can we help him take care of the kids until it's time for them to get off? How can we help him share the news with them? Do you need anything else? Some people offer, do you need food? Do you need, whatever? And suddenly everyone were neighbors, and they began to try to help this gentleman who was in this situation. That's a paradigm shift, and it's a very clear example of how quickly things can change. Well, if we look at a sales shift, we always hear that expression, he could sell ice to Eskimos, and it was usually said in a way that it was meant as a compliment, kind of like having the gift of gab. Kiss the Blarney Stone, he's got the gift of gab. Well, if you understand the story of the Blarney Stone, having that gift of gab was not necessarily a compliment. It was that he says all these wonderful, eloquent things, and he makes all these promises, but he never gets anything done, was Queen Elizabeth I's real statement about the Lord. So in this case, the compliment of he could sell ice to Eskimos. Eskimos don't need ice. They're surrounded by ice. freshwater ice, saltwater ice, they got it all. If you understood the Inuit people and you understood the challenges that they really face, you would find out that the number one problem facing the Inuit tribes is the fact that their children grow up, move off, and never come back. They don't go off to college and learn the skills and bring it back to the village and help the village. They leave and go off to civilization, and the declining numbers of the Inuit people are a function of this. So if you want to be more effective and you want to take care of that relationship with an Eskimo, an Inuit, then you would help the parents get better tools so that they could teach their children and teach them things that would attract the children back to the village so that the villages can thrive in this new innovative world. So it's about understanding what are their real needs and not just selling them something because you have it to get rid of, right? Does that make sense? It's only through understanding that sales is a relief to a customer's pain that we can really embrace it and be okay with it. If it's something that you're doing to someone else, you're going to come away feeling a little skeezy, and they're going to feel that way, and it's going to be like the stereotypes that we've seen. But if you understand that every customer has pain, right? And you strive to understand what that pain is, and then look in your big medicine bag of solutions, what can I get that will help solve the pain of that customer? Whatever it might be. Are we simply preserving the memories of first grade? Or are we working to eliminate the pain in the butt, filling out the forms at the beginning of a sports league, and I've got 5 kids, so I have to fill out all those, plus my husband's a coach, and God knows he's not going to fill out a form, and if he did, he'd do it wrong. And where's Tommy? Somebody go find your brother. I mean, all of this stuff, all of this life that's happening around the parents, and they having to fill out paper forms, that's pain. And it affects your sales, right? So if you can eliminate that pain by having an easy, quick process that still pushes that sense of urgency that paying upfront gives, or that at least doing something on picture day gives, then you're in better shape, and the customer has relieved some of that stress and pain in their lives. So we want to look at it as pain relief. Aspirin, Advil, Aleve, Tylenol, whatever it is, but that's what we want to think about sales. So how are some ways, pause it if you want, think about ways that you can relieve pain for your customers, for your family, for your staff members, everybody that you relate to on a regular basis. How can you relieve that pain? We'll look at a few here that we came up with. Number one is we can solve a bad picture day process. If, take a sports league example that we were just talking about, if parents have to show up for a team photo the old-fashioned way, where everybody has to stand together, I'm a parent that is always 15, 20 minutes early, because it is a cardinal sin for me to be late. I was raised better. I was raised that on time is late. I realize that's the Lombardi time or military time or whatever, but you know, it's if something comes up, something has a problem or whatever, then you have real issues, and so I'll always be there early. But you also have parents who are experiencing a great dose of life every day. Maybe they have multiple children. Maybe they're just a personality type that always struggles to stay organized, and they always seem to wind up being late. If you ask a team mom or a coach, they'll have a player or 2 or 4 that are always late to every practice, every game, everything. Now, it's not their fault. They're 6. But, I mean, they might be the cause, but they can't drive themselves. So a lot of times it's the parent. And if the parent is juggling multiple games, multiple sports, all these other life issues, you've got to stop and understand that you're not as big a priority to them as you are to you. And so if you can heal the pain of a bad picture day process, you're going to be a hero in their eyes. Most of the volume photography is a fundraiser for whatever the group is. And I understand, I know, I see the debate and all of the hate flying back and forth on Facebook about rebates, commissions, the incorrect word of kickback. It's not a kickback. Never has been a kickback unless it was paid to the league president or to the principal personally. But, it's not, it's not something we're going to solve here today. A lot of it depends on your area, but the vast norm in our country is that it is a fundraiser for that event, whatever it is, whether it's a league or a school or an early childhood center, even a church. It could be what funds the mission trip to Mexico for the youth group, whatever it is. And if the prices are structured okay, that's perfectly fine for that to be the case. But if it's been a bad experience and they get squat off of it and they have to do a whole lot of work for it, it's not a good thing. I had a director tell me at an early childhood center one time that, God, we would pick anybody as long as we didn't have to work for our commission. I said, what do you mean? Well, tell me more. Oh, in order to get that money, we have to staff picture day, we have to staff sales day, we have to pass out this, we have to do this. She had this whole list of things that their current photographer was making them do to buy the rebate that they were getting, the commission that they were getting. So solve that as a problem and make it a better deal for them. Slow delivery times. It's a big issue that nobody wants to admit to. And when I talk to people, I do a lot of coaching calls. Every week I have probably 6 to 8 hours of coaching calls with different groups and different studios. And when I ask them to send me, if I was a competitor moving into your area, you tell me what you see as the biggest thing that I could exploit coming in. If I come in from the outside and I'm going to compete against you, what am I going to uncover and use against you? Because you know what it is. Share with me. And it's in there somewhere. In those 1, 2, or 3 answers, I get slow delivery times a lot. Now, maybe you're using a system where you have to stop and go manually put it into your lab or whatever it is. You're not using one of the automated systems. Whatever the old system was, it's not working. And so those delivery times, instead of being 1 to 3 weeks, they're winding up being 1 to 3 months in some cases, in reality. And so that's pain for the customer. Expensive offerings. This is not the battle of, I don't want to be cheap and I want a higher ticket average and all that. This is not that at a core. This is not understanding the product for the market. If you come in and you're dealing with the normal offering to a sports league, for example, you have packages that have wallets, 5x7s, 8x10s that are memory mates or team photos, and the old-fashioned things of the buttons and the dog tags and the trader cards, and you're looking to pull out from them an $80 to $150 average, then your prices per product are probably too high for the norm. If, however, you come in and have the basic items, but then you give them some specialty things, maybe you have another album in your online gallery that is posters, or you take that same image that was on one of those sizes, maybe it's a memory mate, or maybe it's one of the individual pictures, and you offer them blankets, or you offer them banners, or you offer them something that costs you just a little bit. I was talking with Dan Green earlier today, and you can get the 50 by 60 blankets for like $12, and turn around and you can make those available to people for 40. In some cases, in certain situations with certain products, you can get 50, maybe even 60 for them. So, but don't go overboard trying to charge too much for the very basic products that the parents can get wherever. The old days of getting, $50 for a digital download, that's not the norm anymore. They're much less expensive for a single digital download. But if you've done multiple poses and you want to put all those together and make a get-it-all type product, super easy to do with the right online system, and click that, and it may be $150 if you're a dance or a cheer type studio, and maybe charge $199 and do it now before picture day, and you get 50% off, and you make it $99. Whatever it is, but it's the digital download for all of the poses, right? Outdated photos, or an older way of doing business. I share frequently that I have people come brag to me about how they've been shooting for the last 30 years. And that's awesome. It shows that they've been around, they've been to that bleeding edge of digital, they've gone through several different things. But if you don't have someone in your system that keeps you fresh and energized and new and excited, then you're going to look like you did 30 years ago. And we see that all the time. People that are shooting sports up against Olin Mills blue muslin backgrounds, which never really made sense, but it certainly doesn't have a place in today's market. And so if you're someone with some longevity, have someone on your team or pull in a couple of parents, refresh your eyesight on what is current, what do they want to see, what's out there, what pain can I resolve for you in that sense. Okay? Don't look like you're shooting in 1992. Poor communication. This is a super simple one because you control it. And the greatest illusion about communication is that misconception that it's actually happened. We think we sent it. We didn't send it. Or if you did, they didn't hear it, and so it doesn't happen, doesn't work. And we can trace a lot of issues in the system itself, from setting up the picture day, shooting the picture day, the post-production, and the delivery. We can trace a lot of the issues back to poor communication or no communication. So you've got to make sure that you're communicating correctly and with everybody that you need to. With me so far? Cool. So let's commit here today that we're going to shift away from the mindset of this guy. And we're going to focus on being able to relieve the pain of our customers. This is a mom, she's sitting at work and she's trying to order pictures because today's the deadline and she can't figure out how to do that, and she's stressed out, and she's going to wind up either not buying or buying something that may not really be what she wants to get. And so if I can relieve her pain, I can help her be more successful, which in turn is going to help her be a better buyer for me and make me more successful. Everybody good so far? All right, we're going to switch gears for just a little bit. We're going to talk about marketing. How is marketing different from sales? And if this were a live presentation, I would ask you to go put it in the chat box. And I get answers all over the place. Something, it is sales. Well, or it's mail to home stuff, or it's the fluff. I get all these different answers about what is marketing and how does it differ from sales. Well, the similarity is that their common goal is to bring more revenue into the business and make the lives better for the customers who got the right thing they wanted, and for the business, therefore the staff, you, your family, everybody, right? So that's the similarity. The differences, however, are more striking than people think. Marketing is the management process, meaning that it's something that they do at a little higher level. If you're a one-person studio, it's still you, okay? But it's the management process that identifies and anticipates and then satisfies the customer's requirements, hopefully profitably, okay? So you're looking at the situation. It's still looking at what does the customer need. You're anticipating what that answer is, and you're going to satisfy that. You're going to show them how you satisfy that. But marketing is always, or most often, seen as cooler, less threatening, even nicer than sales, right? I'm a marketing executive, or I'm a salesman. I'm a sales manager, or I'm a marketing executive or marketing manager. They're perceived differently, right? One is seen as being corporate and sitting and more respectful, and the other is seen as being, you're lying to people, which is not the case for a lot of very successful sales teams. I was a sales manager for many different companies with large regional teams among the top in the country. And my process that I taught to them was based on personality and developing relationships and helping different personalities, the four big types that you always hear me talk about, the dominants, expressives, solids, and analyticals. How can I relate to each of them and help them get what they need out of it? Because the communication style is very different for each of them. So, if you're doing sales right, they should be the same. Well, for the purposes of today's conversation, we're going to think of marketing as the presentation of your brand and all your products and offering and everything to the buying public. Now, this is just an example of brand materials, but it's all of your brand and everything about your brand, and how do you present that out into the world for consumers to become aware of you and to decide they like you or don't, and then bring them to you so that you can do more with them, right? Marketing is often perceived as passive, and it is in a sense. There's no face-to-face with marketing, right? It's hidden from rejection. So if I send things out, say I send a mailer out, or I post something on social media, I'm hidden from that rejection, and it protects me from the person that hangs up on the telemarketer, or the person that closes the door, or the person that tells you to get out of their office because they don't have time to talk to you, whatever it is. But there's a step back, and there's a protection layer between you and rejection. It's a fire and forget type of situation for a lot of products, or to a lot of people. And if studios that are doing volume photography do any marketing at all, a lot of it is spray and pray. They'll push something out there and then watch, on the back end, and if they see results, great, and if they don't, okay. But they don't necessarily interact with it. And we'll get in at a later point, we'll get into the details of how to really look at it and understand what's happening. Okay, this didn't work, so we're going to reiterate it. We're going to do this iteration. It could be something as simple as changing the background color on an ad, or changing a tagline, or the hook story offer that you hear me talk about. We're going to change a little bit about the hook. Let's try a different hook and see if that helps people stop and give us their attention so that we can help them on the other side. This is marketing, and this is that perception of it being passive. I don't have as much at risk. from a personality standpoint, I'm not going to feel rejected and woe is me. They hate me because I'm a salesperson. You don't run into that as much on the marketing side. And so a lot of people, I like marketing. I'm going to do all marketing. I'm not going to go do any sales. I'm just going to send stuff out because I don't want to sell. I don't like this. I just want to take pictures. Right? And I hear this constantly, everywhere that we ever bring up and talk about sales and marketing. We have people, I don't like sales. I love marketing. I don't like sales. I can't do sales. Sales hates me. I don't want to do sales. But it's a misperception. We're thinking about it in the sense of the car sales guy and not thinking about it in the way that we are really identifying those pain points and then offering a solution to take care of it. Because when you have, this is my Uncle Vinny, the Venn diagram. So we have our global situation, and we have sales, and we have marketing. Right in that sweet spot in the middle is where all the magic happens. That's where sales and marketing come together and they make your business explode, because marketing brings people to you and they connect with you, and then you can engage them one-on-one through the sales process to really truly find out what their needs are, what are their pain points. You can heal that pain, and then suddenly they're part of the family. That's where the magic really clicks and really happens. So you've got to have both parts to truly succeed and to thrive in the world that we're in today. From a marketing standpoint, if you cast a big enough net and just spent lots and lots of money and put enough ads out there to reach all 7 billion people in the world, could you live off of the revenue that pure marketing would bring you? Probably, but you can't spend that to reach that many people and compensate for that amount of ad spend, because there's not a free way to cast that big of a net effectively. I mean, you could go just be visible at every sporting event or every school, whatever, let people see you, and you could grow some organically, but because that's a form of marketing, right? It's presenting your brand out to the world, but it's not something that you can do to get a big enough group of people coming to you. And if you market to the wrong people, when you go and try to get a lead in front of you to uncover their pain and solve their pain, there's nobody there. So you've got to make sure that you're not wasting your time and spending money on people that will not ever be your lead. If you're a volume photographer and you are just putting it out there and you're really targeting all your efforts on the tattoo market, okay? If you're blasting social media and sending out cards and you're doing all this stuff for the tattoo market, unless you get a convention of tattooed people, or you get a tattoo studio to set up a fundraiser, maybe, or some kind of event where their people can come in and you'll take pictures of their tattoos. Now, it would be kind of a fun event, but it's probably not something you're going to build your entire business on, right? If any of you do that, by the way, show me examples. I think it'd be a blast. I think there would be some fun people, but it's not something to build your overall business on, right? So you've got to make sure that what you're doing in the marketing side leads to the right people coming into your network and getting to know you, deciding that they want to trust you to heal their pain. So we just addressed that either sales or marketing. I mean, if you had enough salespeople that just I mean, we know the cold calls. There's a reason that you get these robocalls and these sales calls constantly, and that is that they put enough of them out there that people respond. They catch those gullible people in a moment of weakness, and they say, "You want to buy my house? Great!" And they share their information or whatever it is, right? And if it didn't work, we wouldn't get bombarded with those all the time. So we know if you have enough of a sales force and you just get out there and you blast it, that either sales or marketing could work. But most of the volume photography companies that I work with and deal with and talk to, they don't have those huge ad budgets to spend or sales budgets to spend on those. You know, they may have a staff of 1 to 3 to 5 to 15, and so you want to be efficient and you don't want to go spend all of that extra cash on it. So we want to make sure that we process this very efficiently and we get the biggest bang for the buck, right? And so that's why we want to spend our time in that sweet spot between sales and marketing. So I'm going to stop for just a second in this first segment here and ask if you're with me so far. I trust that you're awake, but this is a concept that sounds very simple, and we've gone through it at a very basic level about what sales is and what marketing is. But I find that people struggle with this sometimes because of their perceptions of sales, or I don't have a budget for marketing, or I don't know what to do. Mail outs are dead, so I'd have to do social media marketing, and oh my God, I don't know how to do Facebook ads, right? So the process so far is that we want to identify through a combination of marketing and sales, we want to identify what the pain points are of the right customers, and then we want to show them they can trust us because we have this particular, medication for your pain, or this particular solution for your need. Surely that makes sense, right? It ought to take away some of the trepidation that you had about sales. And it may not resolve all of the issues of going and talking to people that you don't know. Fair enough. We'll work through that. But it should hopefully start the process of replacing your mindset of the car sales guy. Come on in. You got to get it now. And replace that with, I completely understand. I feel you. I've been there. I had that exact same thing happen. Here's something that I can do to help you resolve that situation. And again, it doesn't have to be any formalized speech. It could be you using an online platform so that parents can go online and either prepay or proof the photos for all of their kids all at once at night when they're sitting in bed or on the couch watching Netflix, instead of having to do it on a whole bunch of clipboards while all the world is breaking loose around them and they're late for the game. I mean, you resolve that. You don't have to make a big speech. Just let people know that you fixed that, right? So we're going to continue over the next few segments to look at different parts of this and how can we change our mindset and how can we very effectively reach out and let people know who we are and how we can resolve their pain. So our recap is, not going to just make cold call sales calls, right? We don't want to be that guy. We're going to get over that aversion to, I don't like sales, I can't do sales. Okay, don't do sales. That's the wrong mentality, okay? You want to resolve pain points for your customers, right? It's the medication for their issues. And we went through that whole list of ways that photographers can heal pain for customers, for the staff. You know, you could pay them better. You could give them lunch on picture days. You could just send them niceties. You know, instead of just saying, "Hey, are you available on whatever?" During the off season, how often do you reach out to the contractors that work for you or your staff members if you've told them that, okay, we're going to pick it back up in August? Do you stay in touch with them all summer long, right? Or is the last time you talked to them when they left the shoot in May? So there are other things that not just customers, but other things that make your business successful. Lord knows your family. If you're sitting up until 2 o'clock in the morning trying to put orders in through rows somewhere, that's not a way to heal the pain of your spouse. That's causing pain to your spouse, right? Even if they're asleep and snoring in the other room, that's not a cool thing. So you need to have a better system in place to where you don't have to do that. You get a little better sleep, you're a little more refreshed, and it all works for you in a better way. Marketing is the more passive part of the equation, but you've got to reach out there and you've got to let people know who you are and what you offer so that they'll get close enough to you to let you explain how you can resolve their pain. The process itself, there's a whole bunch of different pieces, and we're going to look at that as we go forward. But basically, we're taking completely unknown individuals and we're guiding them through this awareness process and then the conversation of pain points, and they join us and we solve their pain, and then we keep loving on them so they'll stick around and stay part of our family, right? And then they're going to turn around and start telling other people, "Oh man, you got to go over here. They just that chiropractor, he just healed all my back. It's just awesome." When my son got hurt at a recent cross-country event, within a few minutes, I had 3 different people try to refer me to their chiropractors. I'm like, okay, no offense, because I've got a good friend that's a chiropractor, but I'm not going to take my son to a chiropractor. If we need to go to rehab, we'll go to rehab. But I mean, just out of the blue, I had all these referrals to chiropractors. So people look for opportunities to share the good news. And if you've healed the customer's pain, and they're seeing pain over in a different school or a different league, they will share, "Hey, you got to go talk to Susie over here. She's awesome, and we don't have to deal with any of that over there at that event." Right? That's when they become your ambassador. And then those leads become customers, and that leads to your sales. Right? As we go forward, we have several different parts to this. It's actually a 6-part series with a bonus at the end. So the next thing we're going to look at, as we talk about sales and marketing, we need to know who it is that we're really trying to reach. So we're going to look at your avatar. And that doesn't mean Aang doing bending, whether it's air or water or whatever. It's the avatar that best represents your ideal customer. So between now and the next episode, I want you to think about, in your mind, in your situation, who's your best ideal customer, or who are. That you'll probably have several. If you're a volume studio and you shoot schools and you shoot sports leagues and early childhood, then you probably have multiple avatars, right? So think about that. We'll talk about it in much greater detail at the next segment. Then we're going to go through the sales funnels. Once we know who we're talking to, then we're going to talk about how do they relate to us in the world. We're going to take what we went through on sales and marketing, and we're going to take our ideal avatar, and I'll just let you know, her name is Sarah. Okay, so for our example, her name is Sarah. So we're going to take Sarah, and we're going to walk through that sales funnel process. What is a sales funnel, and is yours working? Okay. After we do that, we're going to look at the plan going forward. This happens to be towards the end of the year. We're in the last quarter or coming up on the last quarter. And so we want to take a look at the next 12 months. Conveniently, we can just look at 2023. What is the plan for your next 12 to 15 months? Are you just running or driving in the dark? You know you're moving, but you don't really know where. You don't know what direction that you're supposed to be going in, but you just know you're moving, so you feel like you're doing good. Well, that's kind of a scary thing. You can run a whole lot of miles and wind up right back where you started. So we're going to talk about a plan to know where you want to be, and then what's the path to get there. Then we're going to do some fun stuff. And that's going to be looking at your specific examples, let you share those. We'll go through those and maybe even do some role playing. So be thinking and having your questions outlined, and you can go ahead and send them in if you want through the system. Put them down in the forum if you like, and we'll work those into the fun stuff segment. Then we're going to do a bonus segment at the end of everything. Once we look at sales and we look at marketing, now we can go back and evaluate up to this point, have you been killing your own sales? Have you reached a point in your business where, I want sales? Not really, I really don't. That little voice, on your shoulder, you talk about, I got to get more sales, I need more sales. And in the back of your mind, you hear that little voice saying, no, I really don't, because if we get them, we're going to do bad, or I don't know how to handle X, whatever it is. We're going to talk about that in much greater detail and making sure that your systems can support your sales and marketing programs, right? So that's what's coming up next. Make sure you stay tuned so that you can tune in and hear Robin say, "Holy funnel, Batman." But if you want to connect with me before you get to hear Robin say that, then right here, all you got to do is scan that QR. It'll pop you over to Systems. And if you're already a member of Systems, then you've got all my contact information, both for me and some of our other mentors that are in the group. And shoot us an email, sign up for a coaching call, and we're happy to help. And it is just intent on letting that update us, isn't it? So, but scan that QR, check it out, and I will see you in the next one, okay? Don't be afraid of sales. Everything around you went through a sales process. Even your dating relationship, that was a sales process. You had two individuals, they became aware of each other, and through whatever that process is, whether it was a drunk night in Vegas or 2 years of dating and slowly building up the relationship, it was uncovering the likes and dislikes and things that worked and didn't work, and you came together as part of a process that is exactly like the sales process. And somebody finally went to close the deal and said, "Will you?" And someone accepted the deal and said, "I do." So, and if you have someone out there that's gone several years and they haven't said "I do," let me know. I'll go whack them with a stick and make them ask, okay? So just let me know. I'll help you out. Talk to you later. Have a great one. And I'm here if you need me.